Hello and welcome to Entrepreneur TV. I'm your co-host Val McGallant. Super excited to have you here today. I'm not sure if you caught all that or not because I'm not used to the way Facebook is doing their lives. Anyways, we have a fantastic show for you today, and I know I personally am very excited about this. We're talking to Nilesh Jain, and we're talking about how to interview 9+ figure, the top 1% entrepreneurs without a huge following. So, as many of you know, I've been doing interviews for a lot of years. So, this is going to be a very fascinating topic for me personally. So, I hope you get an absolute ton out of this interview. So, Nilesh, it helps entrepreneurs and coaches grow their authority, credibility, and audience using the power of interview podcasts. So, welcome to our show, Nilesh.
Hi, Valma. Thank you, Valma. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really honored to be on Heartpreneur podcast.
So, okay, we started talking before we got into this interview, and I mentioned to you that I've been doing interviews for 20 years. I've been doing it my way for 20 years. So I'm really excited to learn about some of the insights that you've gotten about how to use these interview podcasts for growing authority, growing credibility. And I guess my first question is, how does interviewing someone else grow my credibility? Because I do it for the fun of it. I do it because I love to learn. How does doing this actually support growing credibility?
Wow, love this question. Thank you for asking this, by the way. So, see, when you are doing interview with the suppose industry expert of yours, it help you to grow your credibility in such a way. Like, suppose, can you give me a name of one expert from your industry?
Oh, you know, oh, I can't remember her name. Now I'm going to have to look at it. So,
Okay,
so
just one, whatever comes in your mind.
Lisa Bilyeu, and she
Okay.
does a lot of confidence coaching. She also
Hmm.
does interview podcasting. So
Hmm.
I think she might
Hmm.
be a really great example.
Okay, super. So suppose you did interview with Lisa Bellew, right?
Mhm.
What happened is you did interview, so she already have a trust and credibility in the marketplace. First of all, first and most important thing, right? And when she have a credibility and trust, and you are doing interview with her, a lot of your audience or might be her audience is started seeing you like, okay, Velma is doing interview or Velma is connected with Lisa, right?
Okay.
And when
Mhm.
Velma is your audience and Velma's audience has started seeing like, okay, L- Velma is always talking with the Lisa or the industry expert in my niche. What happened at that point of time? Your authority, your credibility is started growing automatically. And why? Because you are always being with the people who build a legacy, or I can say who are in the business from a long time, who are doing great into their journey, and they already build a trust and credibility in the marketplace. They already build it. You are
Mhm.
leveraging their credibility, expertise by implementing the system, by implementing the interviewing them, right? Number one, that's how you can grow your credibility. Second is, suppose Lisa is resharing your podcast to her audience on her social media, on her email list, on her all the platforms. Like suppose she have a Facebook group, suppose she have a forum, she's sharing all of the over the place, right? And what you are getting here is you're getting their audience completely for free just by interviewing them, and that's where you are also growing your credibility. And there
Mhm.
is a concept I learned in a book by Amanda Holmes, like people know you, and then when you are consistently coming up with the consistently talking with your experts, industry experts, consistently being with the industry expert, people see like, okay, from a cold person to a hot person, I'm consistently hearing about Velma. I'm consistently, who is Velma? I am working with Velma. This is, I forgot what exactly the three stages in that book by in Ultimate Sales Machine, but it's like from a cold to hot, like the journey of cold customers, then warm customers, then hot customers. You are
Mhm.
also getting leads. You are also getting the people like this who wants to work with you, who wants to know more about you, about your business. And that's where the credibility part is coming in the picture. That's how you are growing your credibility, by being connected with the industry expert of yours. So this is how it works.
Okay. So
Yep.
we're getting credibility by association. So
Yes.
because I'm seen with them, I get, it's kind of like that rubs off on me a little bit.
Mhm.
Also getting access to their audience. And I have another question about that one. And then, of course, if I'm interviewing multiple people inside of my industry or even parallel industries, then I'm getting that multiple visibility. So did I hear you
Yes.
correctly?
100%.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So access to audience. Now, this one, so I co-hosted for another podcast of Terry's quite some time ago. And one of the things that I observed about that is that a lot of the people who participated or were guests on it did not share it, did not follow through with the sharing of the audiences and that kind of thing. Are there ways to invite that in more consistently, or is it a matter of being a bit more mindful of what guests I'm bringing on? Because I know that I've seen that across the board with quite a few people.
Yeah, I love this question, by the way. And this is, I don't know what's your process is, but this is one of the biggest mistake a lot of people are doing most of the time, is that they are not making their guest life simple. By mean is, suppose you done a podcast with the XYZ person, right?
Mhm.
They going to share it when you are going to make it simple. So what I do is, my process is like, suppose let's take an example. I did a podcast with you on my podcast, right? So once the podcast is done, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to edit the entire podcast episode, and I'm going to share with you the edited file, not raw file. I'm going to share with you the edited file. Second is, we if we are coming up with the reels, I'm going to share with you again edited reels. Third is, suppose you have your own email list. I'm sure you have your email list, right? So I'm
Mhm.
going to write an email from by me on behalf of you. If you understand this one process, I'm going to write an email from my side on behalf of you to your email list. So how was the copy is, I am uh, I got interviewed by Nilesh Jain. Here's what I share as a Velma. When I'm talking about Velma, what I
Mhm.
shared. So entire email copy that you are going to share to your email list is written by me. All you need to do is, just if you wanted to make any kind of changes, it's all your plan. But the point here is, you are making your guest life so easy that they feel to just click on the button and they just feel to share it.
Right.
You are creating a lot of graphics, so they just need to share it to their profile. That's their task, to share. So, and when you are making their life so easy, they are happy to share it. So this is one process you can follow. And the second process is, you can always, whenever you are hosting a podcast with your guest, at the same time, in before starting the podcast, or before at the ending of the podcast, you can share with them, like, I'm also going to share with you the recordings, the editing files, and all sort of things. So is it okay for you to share? And definitely they are going to say yes. Nobody is like, I don't want to share my story to my own audience. And
Right.
everybody wants to share their audience. So this is where you can go and just tell to them on the spot itself, like, okay, once we are coming up with all the editing, all of the publishing process done, I'm going to share with you invite. You can share it with your audience. So this is the process you can follow, and that's very easy. And every guest love to share. I'm I recently completed 100th episode on my podcast. I think last week, and from 60th or 50th episode, I started working on this one process. That what I share with you right now. So
Mhm.
most of the guests share to their email list. Most of the guests reshare my podcast to their own YouTube channel, and some of the guests are sharing the reels, the email, all the things that I just shared with you. My
Right.
guests are already doing it, and they have a big audience. I'm not talking about like people who have 500,000 of followers. They have a uh, followers or subscriber like millions of followers. They have a subscriber and followers like 100,000 subscriber, 200,000 subscriber. They are resharing it to their email list. They are resharing it to their Instagram, Facebook, and that's how it works. So the point here is make your guest life so easy and so simple, so that they don't feel like I have to do the work. They
Right.
just,
Right.
their work is just to share to their audience, not
Yes.
any other task. And
So
when this thing is completed, yeah, yeah, you are
so
saying something.
that makes a lot of sense to me. And so
Hmm.
I think when I think about that, I think about the time commitment to get all of these things prepared
Hmm.
for them and that kind of thing. And you know, if you want to create anything that has any kind of reach, it is going to require that either time or financial investment, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's just the reality of it. So, okay, so we've talked a little bit about why we want to be doing these kinds of interviews with
Uh,
growing our own
can I,
credibility.
can,
Yeah.
you are talking something financial kind of requirement. So can you talk more on this point? Like what is something financial you are talking about?
Well, so if I'm not the one who's actually doing the editing of the
Ah, okay.
videos, the writing
Hmm.
of the
Yeah,
emails, that kind of thing, then
yeah,
I'm going to be paying somebody
yeah.
to do that,
Definitely,
right?
you need to hire someone. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So there's that. Okay, so make our guests' lives simple so that it is easy and they feel invited into sharing the
Hmm.
information. So that makes a
Yes.
lot of sense. Now, let's talk a little bit about um, building the relationships with people to before
Hmm.
we invite them on, because of course I mean, when I did this, 15 years ago when I had my podcast, it was actually I was very lucky. I think I only had one person say no to me, and they didn't
Okay.
know me from Adam, right? And it was just,
Hmm.
I'd really love to invite you. Is it as simple as just popping them an email and saying, I'd really love to invite you, or is there a better way or that kind of thing in order to invite somebody into being on your podcast?
Ah, this is my favorite topic. So, when it comes to inviting, your question is like how to invite guest, right? The high profile
Well,
guest or something kind of good
yeah,
guest, right?
yeah, because I
Good.
mean, if I've got a tiny audience,
Hmm,
you
hmm, hmm.
know, it can I can have the feeling of, well, who am I to be
Yeah.
inviting this person onto my little tiny podcast, right? So how do we build that kind of relationship that it feels good to do that?
Hmm. And this is my expertise, I can say. So, what you need to do is, I always share this three-step framework, which is known, like, and trust.
Hmm.
Whatever guest you dreaming, like, okay, I wanted to invite this particular person. Before
Hmm.
actually you invite them, your first and most important job is to build relationship with that one guy. How you build relationship? Apply the known, like, trust factor. Known, you are always in front of them. How you are going to in front of them? You are building such kind of suppose they are sharing any kind of stories, or they are sharing any kind of content. Show your gratitude, like this is the very valuable information you share with me. How this particular person have make an impact in your life. What you are doing, you are doing known, then you are creating a likable, you are creating a likable about you in their in their head. Why? Because you are showing your gratitude, number one thing. And people in the world, and gratitude is something, it's not you have to show for the sake of showing it. You have to, it coming from the heart. It coming from like, okay, this person actually make a real impact in my life. If I talk about uh, Russell Benson, he make a huge impact in my life. So I'm really grateful. Just because of him, I got the idea of interview podcast. So I have to be grateful for this one. And that it comes from the heart because of him, I found the podcasting and podcasting become my business. I built a 6-figure business because of podcast, right? So
Mhm.
that level of gratitude I have, like, okay, this person may transform my life. So known, like, and trust. Trust, when you are consistently in front of somebody, trust establish. You cannot earn trust in a day. You have to work on it day in, day out. And when I'm talking about day in, day out, you don't have to put entire day. You just have to put 5 minutes to 10 minutes in a day. And everybody can do this in a day. Anyone and everybody have a 10 minute of time, 5 to 10 minutes of time. If somebody say like, I don't have that time, I don't know what you are doing with your time, but that's how you can do this, right? So
Mhm.
known, like, and trust factor is there. Now you feel like, okay, this person is knowing me, started knowing me. This, I build some kind of likability here as well, and trust is also. So when these three things are meeting, it's your time to inviting that one person. And higher chance is, and when I'm talking about higher chance, 99% chances are there, like when you are going to ask, you are going to get yes from that one guy. I personally implement this process, and just because of that, I'm able to interview the people who build $1 billion in their business, people who have millions of subscribers. When it comes to millions, 7 million, 8 million, and I did interview with that kind of people. So that's how it works. Three thing is known, like, and trust factor, and when you implement this 3 step, everything can change.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like, so you're only going to want to interview people that it makes sense to interview, and you actually do like the work that they do. It
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And then
Yes.
and connecting to it, connecting to their content in a way that it does give you a little bit of visibility and it for them. So with that might be if I'm guessing, I would be engaging on some of their social media content and maybe popping them an email here and there where, I noticed this thing and this is what I really connected to, and doing this consistently. And that makes a lot of sense to me as well, because trust is built through consistency in
Yes. Yes.
any area of your life. It's not instant.
Yeah. Definitely. Yes.
Okay. So doing interviews for me has been, over the 20 years, has been quite easy because I am an extrovert. And
I am also an extrovert.
I
Sorry, I
and
am
it,
an introvert.
and so for me it was quite easy. And there's a lot of people
Yeah.
who really love the idea of it and might not be as extroverted as me. I'm quite a chatty Cathy, so I do love to talk and
Mm,
ask questions.
mm,
How
mm.
did you get into doing the podcast interviews, even though you are an introvert?
Beautiful. So previously, when 3 years ago I started the journey of mine, I'm like, okay, before starting the journey, I am in my college days, in my school days, I'm very much introvert. Uh, and when it comes to introvert, I am just talking with the people whom I have very good friendship. Other than, I'm not talking with entire class, even not with teachers, not with anyone, not from family members as well. Because being introvert, you just like to just be alone, don't want to talk with. So I must say this is the skill I develop over the period of time. And also one more thing is, I'm still an introvert guy, but when I'm on podcast, it's my ground. It's my ground. That's the one word. So when I am, suppose you can reverse this podcast, like I am the host of this podcast and you are the guest of this podcast, it's my playground and I'm playing it like crazy. And this is a skill I built over the period of time, like consistently. When I did my first podcast, then I did my second podcast, and even my mentor actually helped me a lot. Like, you can go in that way. My interview podcast mentor who teach me like, okay, in this podcast you have did this thing, you can improve on this point. In this podcast you have done this thing, you can improve on that point. So his consistent support, consistently, uh, I can say the improvement or the guidance of his helped me to overcome, and definitely taking consistent action without being perfectionist also helped me a lot to become extrovert, or to hold my stage, to hold my platform, which is my interview podcast, in the that game.
Okay.
And that's what
Okay.
my answer.
I like that. I like that a lot
Yeah.
because what I heard is that you're still who you are. You're still an introvert, but you developed extrovert skills. And part of that was establishing that your podcast is your playground. So really you're inviting people into your space, which is a lot different than going into someone else's space. I mean, I know you've been invited into our space here. It is still kind of like your play. You're just going to someone else's playground. It's still a playground. It's still a podcast playground. So you've already developed some comfort into that. And so, yeah, it's skills. They can be developed. It's not that you have to be an extrovert. You get to adopt
Yes.
extroverted
Yes.
skills.
Yes.
Okay. So,
And by the way, one thing I wanted to share, most of my guests on my podcast are introvert, but they build $1 million business, they build $1 billion business. Just they work on themselves, they started working, talking with people, and that's they like, okay, they also share on my podcast, like, I don't remember who was that guy. He said like, I'm still an introvert, but when I am delivering something, I am extrovert because this is my topic. This is something I love. This is something my passion coming from. And that's where they feel like, okay, they forgot everything, that I am extrovert, introvert, whatever I am. They forgot their main focus, their main goal is, okay, I wanted to serve, I wanted to deliver. So this is one more thing that I can share or add on from that one point.
I like that. I like that a lot. When you're in your zone, you're not necessarily an introvert or an extrovert. You're just in your zone, and you're
Yes.
talking about the things that you're comfortable with, that you have great knowledge on. Okay, so developing those extrovert skills, that's really useful when you're coming to networking and stuff like that, because I think networking is, it's not just being on the internet and finding people to talk to. It's being able to connect to people, where that
Yes.
comes from for me is part of networking gave me access to some pretty awesome people when I was doing my podcast 15 years ago, right?
Wow.
Somebody connected me to Neil Donald Walsh, and I got to do an interview with him. I wish I had all of these interviews. They all, the server they were on crashed, and it's so upsetting, but I got so much amazing experience out of it. And it was people that ended up connecting me to Neil and giving me that opportunity. People connected me to Terry, 20 years ago. So networking, I think, is a really important part of growing
Yes.
any kind of business, and especially if you're choosing to do a podcasting business. Would that
So
be
true.
correct?
So true. Definitely 100% I'm agree on that point. And even uh networking can transform anywhere, anything in your life. You never know which network, which relationship can help you to grow or to blow your life, to blow your business. You have no idea.
Mhm.
That's a very powerful thing. You, and so definitely everybody have to learn how they can network. And it's not like you cannot be an extrovert, or you cannot be you. It's easy to talk with people when you just go on that zone. And if you still, for my introvert friends, if you still feel you are an introvert, just one suggestion from me, from your introvert friend, is start recording or start doing Facebook Live or Insta Live, whatever. This is really powerful too, because you are sharing your feeling, you are sharing your experience. I myself did 365 days of Facebook Live without giving up, without any daybreak, I can see. So that also play a major role to become extrovert in my this podcasting journey.
Okay, I like that. That's
Yeah.
I like, and I like you did 365 days of Facebook Live. So I want to pick up on that, because
Yeah.
what I'm hearing from that is doing the Facebook Lives was one way of you practicing extrovert skills. It didn't mean you were any different than who you were. You were just
Yes.
practicing an extrovert skill and building that skill. So, okay. So when you did these Facebook Lives, like were there like 5-minute lives, 2-minute lives, 15-minute lives, kind of all over the place?
Ah. At starting, I did for 1 minute, then 5 minute. But over the period of time, I did 15 minute, 30 minute of live as well. But definitely at beginning, I was like, how I'm going to manage it? What's the process I'm going to do it? So 1 minute to 3 minute was something I did for 1 week or 1 month. I don't remember that. But then over the period of time, when topic comes in picture, I understand the topic. I understand like what kind of value I can add on. So time increase often the period of time. So that's how the time of Facebook Live grows. So depend on topic as well. Like, okay, what topic I'm going to talk today, and if the topic is just easy to complete within 5 minutes or within 3 minutes, it completed in 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Because there's no, it doesn't make sense if you are just adding crap without having a proper value. Just to increase the time, you are just adding crap doesn't make any sense, and you are not adding any real value. So that's how I think in that way.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense to me as well.
Yeah.
Um, because you're not doing this just for the sake of doing this. You're not only practicing being more external in those moments, but you're also practicing how can I add value at the same time. And I think that's really important, because what I've heard through all of this is it's really important. It is very important to be real, and it's very
Mm,
important to be consistent. Those are, I think, if I were to take away two specific things, it's be real and be consistent. And that's being real and being consistent in, you know, building the relationships with the people you'd love to interview,
mm,
being a contribution to the audience that you want to contribute to. And then at the same time, excuse me, developing these extrovert skills, you know, be real with yourself. Are you willing to develop these skills, still be real with who you are, and making sure that you're doing this because you are wanting to be giving value to those out there? So kind of a bit of a wobble on that one, but yeah, those are two of the things that I think stood out for me, was the consistency and being real and giving value. So that's 3.
yeah. Yep.
So, okay. So we are, my goodness, pretty much at the end of our time. Is there anything that we missed in this conversation that you feel is really important to share with our entrepreneurs?
Heartpreneur. The name itself is coming from heart, related to heart. So whatever you are doing, do it with the heart. Don't do it for the sake of doing it. As I just share this one thing previously as well, but whatever you are doing it, do it with your heart, put your 100% effort. And I always say, love to share this one thing is focus on the process, and at the same time, you are going to see the result when you are focusing on the process. And the more and less thing is, if you are doing it from your heart, as the from your when I say heart, your intention is clear, your intention is pure, to serve people, to add value in people life, to inspire millions, or even if not million, to inspire hundred of people, to inspire only one people. But your intention is very clear, your intention is to just deliver the value, your intention is to serve, and then you can see the huge transformation in your journey, in your life. And that's how it can make huge impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Nilesh. This was really good. I enjoyed the conversation. It brought up a lot of really fantastic memories for me as well through the conversation. So, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my pleasure. It's really glad to be on your podcast.
Thank you. And for those of you who are inside of the group, I'd love to see in the comments what's one thing you took away, or if you've got three like me, what is that one thing that you took away from this conversation? And for those of you out in YouTube land, come on over to Heartpreneurs with Terry Levine. You'll be able to connect with more heart-based business owners like myself, like Nilesh, like Terry, and we'd love to have you here. Thanks so much and have an absolutely brilliant day.